goals for West Ham. Trouble off the field. Big trouble on it for David Moyes and his side.
The sights and sounds of pain and disappointment. West Ham's bubble has burst. Not that the season started well, but they did have a flurry of improved form around the turn of the year. That's now a faded dream following 3 heavy defeats. In that run, David Moyes' side conceded 11 goals, scoring just once. They're 4th from bottom and the table doesn't lie. It's been an appalling season and the Hammers need to avoid the final devastating blow, relegation.
It was a vital game. But I've had vital games since day one. But they're getting more vital if I can do that. And we're running out of games as well. But we're positive we've been. When I took over, we were in the bottom 3. We had some brilliant results. So that's what we're looking to do again.
Part of Moyes' problem has been dealing with a depleted squad. Suspensions and injuries have counted against him. Midfielders, strikers, defenders, no area of the pitch has been unaffected. Arthur Masuaku and Edimilson Fernandez should both be available for this weekend, but Moyes will be sweating on the fitness of key man Manuel Lanzini, who suffered a knock while on international duty.
Like any club who are in the bottom half of the Premier League, if your best players are injured, it's very, very difficult to compete. And I think once again this season, they've struggled with injuries. Players throughout the season at different times have been out there, key players, and it's very, very hard to get a rhythm. And I think that's such a key factor for West Ham.
In games like these, the importance of victory can't be overstated, nor can the crushing blow of defeat. Alarm bells will now be well and truly ringing at St Mary's.
The bells were tolling for Mauricio Pellegrino. The Argentine sacked after a disastrous run of just 1 win in 17 games. The final straw, a heavy defeat at Newcastle. Southampton have appointed former player Mark Hughes leapfrog the Hammers. Hughes, after a dispiriting end to his spell at Stoke, is determined to make an instant impact at his new club.
I've come here to try and ensure that this club remains in the Premier League and remains a Premier League club, which it undoubtedly is. West Ham away is never easy. Whoever comes out with the positive result will go a long way to achieving what they need to do this year.
And a boost to help Saints achieve what they need. Charlie Austin is back in training after a 14-week layoff with a hamstring injury. Great timing for Hughes, horrendous for the Hammers. Austin scored in his last 2 appearances against West Ham and enjoyed a purple patch back in December. What's more, the return of a strong and effective player can act as a catalyst to revive a team's fortunes, especially if he fills a creative void.
When you get the ball and you get your head up, you need to feel that there's an option, and that's absolutely key, I think, to how Southampton finished the season, is how good that link is between whoever's up front and the relationship he has with those players that are trying to provide opportunities for them, because that's what's going to, cost them or keep them in the Premier League.
The last time these two clashed at the London Stadium, Southampton won 3-0. The sights and sounds of joy for the visitors. Should that be repeated, Hughes will start his firefight on a high, but the bitter mood in East London and West Ham's fading hopes will take another turn for the worse.
Brighton in 12th are close to being safe, but no one on the south coast is taking survival for granted. An unbeaten February earned boss Chris Hughton the Manager of the Month award. But despite their lofty position, the Seagulls remain just 6 points clear of trouble with a tough run-in. 3 of the current top 4 sides stand in their way. But there's belief in this Brighton side on the back of 3 consecutive home victories, including that famous win over Arsenal.
When you go into the season, you know you're going to have a team that's motivated, and you'll have a team that will give everything they can to make sure we stay in this division. It's 8 games left. We have some very difficult games in them 8 games, and we will have to play at a level to get the points that are needed to make sure that we stay in.
It's been a season of consolidation for Leicester City and their manager Claude Puel. The Frenchman's managed to put the Riyad Mahrez saga behind him, and the Algerian is clearly back in the fold after some outstanding performances. Alongside Jamie Vardy, the goals have started to flow. As well as scoring for England against Italy, Vardy has 5 goals in his last 7 league games, and the Foxes could yet secure a place in Europe next season.
Watford went into the international break on the back of 2 punishing away defeats at Arsenal and then Liverpool. Only 2 teams have let in more than the Hornets' 55 goals. Javi Gracia is still without some key players, including 2 defenders, but the good news is Watford have won their 3 home games under the Spaniard, conceding just once. Captain Troy Deeney scored in each of those victories. He arrived at the club nearly 8 years ago when they were finishing in the lower half of the Championship. The challenge is not to return to that division.
Genuinely, we don't think that we're safe yet. And I'm not just saying that for camera. I genuinely think we need to get a win. Probably a win and a draw. Obviously the 40 points is a magic number, but I think it'll be a bit less than that. But if we can get 40 in the next couple of weeks and then start to assess, going forward.
Bournemouth travel to Vicarage Road on 36 points, ahead of Watford only on goal difference. When the 2 met in August, the Cherries lost 2-0. This time, Eddie Howe will be eager to add to his side's tally of 3 away victories. And it's back to the day job for Lewis Cook, who made his England debut in midweek.
3 wins all season and now 10 points short of safety. There seems little chance of West Brom pulling off the most unlikely of great escapes. Since taking over as manager, Alan Pardew has had only 1 league victory, and their fall from grace has been dramatic. The Baggies have lost their last 7 league games, and you have to go back to 1985 for form as bad as that in the top flight. The most recent loss came at Bournemouth, where despite leading, they conceded 2 late goals. It's been an impressive season for Sean Dyche's Burnley, who moved into the top half of the table back in August and have been there ever since. The unfancied club continue to exceed expectations. Currently 7th, they sit just 5 points behind Arsenal, chasing a European place.
I'd like to think we've taken the club